Hello and welcome to Back to the Future with Evan and Gabby. Double features, double takes. This is the podcast where we talk about two movies, one new, one older, what makes them a good pair, and how the history of films influences the present. I'm Evan.
And I'm Gabby.
And today we are discussing highest to lowest and high and low. I was waiting for you to fill it in. I was like, 'cause sometimes on the virtual recording, it's always like so goofy. We got to get back in person one of these days.
Someday soon. No, I was doing that on purpose just to see if you.
Well, it worked.
I gotta keep you on your toes, Evan. I gotta keep you on your toes.
That's true. And I have some words for you in response to that.
Really?
Yeah. Let's go Yankees. Let's go Yankees. Boston sucks. Boston sucks. An incredible part of that movie. A hat just fell off
straight to camera. The guy delivering Boston sucks straight to camera.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It
I wish
incredible.
I wish that I hated anything the way that Spike Lee hates Boston.
Yeah, actor Nick Turturro. If you haven't guessed, that is a moment from highest to lowest. We'll be getting into the new movie from Spike Lee, based off of the Akira Kurosawa film High and Low. We'll change up the podcast format a little bit to talk about that, but we'll get to that after some movie news today. We're recording this Sunday, September 7th. The Conjuring Last Rites, this was opening weekend for this movie. This is, I believe, intended to be the final movie of the franchise, but maybe not
Will
now.
It be, though? Will it?
This movie stunned everybody. I think it's currently made $187 million worldwide and $80 million domestic, and it's opening weekend again, and against a $55 million budget. That's insane. That's wild.
So much money.
I didn't even know this movie was coming out until I saw the trailer in front of Weapons, like legitimately.
No, I saw the trailer and I thought the trailer was like it wasn't very exciting.
Yeah.
And I was thinking that this would probably be a Halloween release, and it just isn't. And I was like, I wonder why they would do that. And I guess this is why. Did they have some kind of inkling that this would be a huge blockbuster weekend because not a lot else came out? I don't understand. But
I mean, there's always a lot of talk about Christmas creep, right? Like how songs about like the Christmas marketing gets earlier and earlier every year. No one's really talking about Halloween creep, which I believe starts like the day after July 4th, July 5th. And so maybe now, like, it is, especially because horror is this genre, right, where a lot of smaller budget movies can be made, Conjuring Last Rites included, right, $55 million smaller, quote unquote, compared to summer blockbusters,
small
right?
Budget, yeah.
Small, yeah. Yeah, because there's lots more people in the space, maybe trying to make a splash, like trying to find that perfect window of like just releasing. Maybe first week in September is the move, or second weekend of September, technically.
I don't know. My educated guess is also that the Black Phone 2 is supposed to come out in October of this year, and they maybe did not want to compete for audience with that. Also, the Five Nights at Freddy's sequel, which I have not seen Five Nights at Freddy's, but I have been told it's horror. So maybe they just got lucky and didn't want to compete with those other October movies, so they settled for September, and look what happened.
Yeah, it surprised everybody. And crazy, another Warner Brothers movie.
Warner Brothers is absolutely crushing it this year, and everyone is. I don't understand, but I mean, I do understand they have a good slate, but also earlier this year there was like a crazy like industry narrative of like, oh, Warner Brothers movie execs are about to get fired because they spent so much money on Sinners, and they spent so much on One Battle After Another and the Minecraft movie. And One Battle After Another remains to be seen, although early buzz is proving good. We were just discussing off pod, but this could be a banner year for Warner Brothers and I just What a comeback. What a media to comeback.
The year they decided to not only split up as Warner Brothers Discovery again, but also the year where they decided to rename Max
Oh
HBO
yeah, yeah,
Max.
yeah. Again, rename HBO Max.
What a goofy time. Hey, as long as you can have your blockbuster cake and your indie treats too, that's what it's all about, right?
Sure. Weapons. Have a dash of weapons with your Conjuring movie.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
take it.
Well, in other news, a lot of award wins this weekend, the Creative Arts Emmys, where last night Rebel Ridge won Best TV Movie, quote unquote TV movie, right?
Right. I think if you're listening to this, you're like, what are you talking about? This is a movie podcast. Why are you discussing a television awards show? Well, that is because Netflix can't decide whether its movies are television or cinema. So,
Mm-hmm.
after like over a decade of them having this kind of crazy release strategy, which is seems to be, for lack of a better wording, just if it's not good enough for the Oscars, we'll try and get an Emmy.
Yeah, true.
And I mean, you and I both really like Rebel Ridge. I think it's a
Mm-hmm.
really good movie.
Yeah.
I would challenge anybody why this is a TV movie versus a regular movie. But okay, good for them on their win. Congratulations. Glad they got something
Yeah.
in consolation for non-theatrical release.
It's kind of a bummer because Rebel Ridge specifically feels like if it had been released in theaters, would have occupied the space that Soderbergh was trying to encourage earlier this year with Black Bag, like that kind of like adult action thriller that's maybe not so like fully, Jason Statham level, but like, has like a little bit more drama behind it. And I just think that it would have been, I think they could have crushed in theaters, to be honest. Like, I think people would have been like, what is this movie? Saw it and been like, wait, this is like really cool. Good word of mouth, Like,
Yeah, good
yeah.
performances. It would have found
Hmm.
an audience. It absolutely would have found an audience. But, Netflix, we shall see where they get to eventually.
Hmm.
They have they're still sticking to their guns of like, no, we're not doing major theatrical releases. But they also once upon a time said that they would never do ads, and here we are. So we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see.
And I think there was this term that the Ankler was using. I forget. The reverse release window is maybe what I think they'd refer to it as. But like Netflix releasing K-pop Demon Hunters in theaters after releasing it on the platform.
Oh
That's
yeah, I heard this.
interesting, right? There's an interesting strategy there. You're never gonna get that for a not kids movie, right? Like, what does that
Yeah.
have to look like for an adult movie or something that's like more that's not as kid friendly for that to happen, right? Like the reason that happened is probably just because they're like, oh man, our servers need a break.
Pretty much. I mean, that's definitely the case for K-pop Demon Hunters, but
Hmm.
they've also Netflix has tried this small theatrical release window for some of their films and acquisitions in the past. They're still
Hmm.
doing it. I think this year for movies like Knives Out 3, Wake Up Dead Man.
Well, part of it
Um,
is
right.
Oscars considerations too, right? Like you have to
Part of
be
it
in
is
a
100% awards consideration,
yeah.
but I also think it's just kind of like a way to get these auteurs and big name directors that want theatrical releases off their backs a little bit. And
Hmm.
I remember actually, I saw Knives Out 2 in theaters. Like, I made the
Hmm.
effort to go out and see it
Same.
in a
Yeah.
theater. And I don't think that's a great movie, but I really had fun. I had like, the audience had a blast. Like,
Yeah.
everyone was like, there is an audience and there is like, space for these movies. And also Netflix is just like, from a business perspective, leaving money on the table by
Yeah.
not putting something like K-pop Demon Hunters in theaters for more than a weekend or two. You're leaving a ton of money on the table.
I'm really surprised they didn't do an extended weekend for that. Like the fact that it was just a weekend. Also, it's smart though because it creates limited availability,
Super
And
smart, but they should definitely like keep doing it, even if it's in a
yeah.
limited capacity. I mean, it creates demand, it
Hmm.
creates put more eyes for your product, whether it's on Netflix or not. But Yeah, and buzz, awards buzz.
Right. Maybe that is it. Like maybe it is just the limited window instead of like the required must have a theatrical run for a week to be considered for Oscars, right? Like maybe there's something there. Or, you know, with K-pop Demon Hunters, there was the eventization of it of being like this is the sing-along version, right? Like if there's a way to
Right.
encourage maybe there's like a unique popcorn bucket or something. That's like the worst pitch in the world for this, but like you know, there's
Mhm.
got to be another thing that they can, you know, some other lever they can pull to get your typical movie going audience into something like, you know, Knives Out 3.
I would pay for the J. Kelly commemorative popcorn bucket if they do it. It's just Adam Sandler's head with
Yeah,
popcorn coming out of it. I'm in. I'm down.
I'm in. I'm in. In other awards news, Venice Film Festival wrapped up this weekend. Benny Safdie won Best Director for Smashing Machine.
Mhm.
Getting increasingly excited about this movie. You know, we were kind of like so on the trailer, but I don't know.
Yeah, but now that not only has it won this huge prize
Hmm.
and debuted to very positive reviews, especially surrounding The Rock doing a serious acting performance.
Hmm.
I sent you the clip of him crying at Venice
Yeah.
to the standing ovation, and I said, "Oh no, he's doing the Brendan Fraser playbook," and I think that is accurate. I stand by that. If he gets up on the Oscar stage
Hmm.
in March, I'm going to have a celebratory drink and also make you acknowledge my awards prowess in public.
Well, let's listen. Should we just call it right now? I'll make another prediction. Actors on actors, actors, right? Actors on actors. That's
Ooh,
what it's called. Next year,
yes.
Dwayne the Rock Johnson and Brendan Fraser.
Oh my God. You're so right, because Brendan Fraser has Rental Family.
Yeah,
You're right.
the
That's gonna
comeback.
happen. That
Yeah.
has to happen.
So we'll clip
Okay.
it out when it happens.
We'll
We'll
clip it.
tag Hollywood Reporter in it, and just so you know, we dated it already.
Hmm.
We knew you guys were gonna do this.
Yes.
Also from Venice, the top prize, the Golden Lion, was
Hmm.
won by Jim Jarmusch's new film, Father, Mother, Sister, Brother. It's gonna come out later this year. Had not really heard anything about this movie. The only thing I
Nope.
really know is that Adam Driver is in it.
And Kate Blanchett.
And Kate Blanchett, love her. Love
Hmm.
her in Ocean's 8, especially. Best part of that
Who
movie.
doesn't? The gayest part of that movie.
I know. She's so cool.
I love her.
Yeah, me too. Tar, obviously.
Tar.
Anyways, we were talking a little bit off pod. Neither of us have seen too many Jim Jarmusch films.
Mhm.
We both have seen Patterson. Patterson's a really interesting movie. From New Jersey myself, I have a soft spot for it, but I do think it's very interesting.
Maybe that's why I don't like it, because I'm from a place that is very close to New Jersey, both proximity wise and culture wise, but
Sure.
is not
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
is not in fact New Jersey. And that's like
Mhm.
our biggest point of pride. Like Staten Island's whole thing is we are not New Jersey. And I stand by it. I really do.
I had the best slice of vodka pizza in my life from Staten Island.
Uh, where?
I'm gonna have to text you later
God damn
because it's near my cousin's house.
Yeah,
But I'll let you know.
Staten Island. The pizza is slept on there. It's
It
amazing.
really is. I honestly, it really is. Well, we're both really excited to see what this movie looks like.
Yes.
I mean, an Adam Driver fan for sure.
Huge Adam Driver fan. Put him back
yeah.
in good movies. I love that he did Megalopolis, a movie
Mhm.
that I don't love.
Mhm.
But I love that he tried, and I love that he's been trying and taking big swings in movies.
Yeah.
But I'm ready for like smaller, quaint, like Juilliard Adam Driver to come back.
Yeah, I mean this is what we want to see, right? Like in a sense, you know, we have these actors up and coming, they get cast in a big franchise thing,
Mhm.
they get the paycheck, and then they decide to either commit to doing paycheck things or do something else. And Adam Driver, I think, has been making some really interesting choices. I think obviously the biggest success story of a version of that is Robert Pattinson, right? Who after
yeah.
Twilight has gone on to do some really interesting roles to great success. Daniel Radcliffe obviously had done a lot of that stuff, but maybe not as to the highest heights. Chris Evans Misfires across the board. Love that
We're
guy,
working
but
on it.
misfires
We're working
across
on
the
it.
board.
Have you seen the photos of him at Toronto this week?
Where he's like jacked?
He's jacked.
Yeah.
And he's really, really not doing a good job of like quelling the internet rumors that he's in Doomsday.
I'm pretty sure it was
he's in Doomsday.
The Hollywood Reporter, before the big Avengers chairs thing, had already said he's gonna be in Doomsday, but not they couldn't confirm who his character would be. Back when I was doing stuff,
he's looking good. What we can confirm is he's looking good.
I mean, even in The Materialist, hottest he's ever been.
So hot.
I'll say it. He's so hot in that movie.
He is so my type in that movie. I love a loser from Massachusetts, and you can attest to that. So hard, because we went to school in Boston.
Boston sucks. Boston sucks. I lost it when that happened in the movie. Oh, we got to get to the highest and lows. All right.
Okay.
Last couple things here. We got some big family-friendly movie announcements. Superman 2, Man of Tomorrow, coming out July 9th, 2027. Also coming out in 2027, the Bluey movie. The Bluey movie is going to make $1 billion at the box office. I'll call it right
$2
now.
billion.
2
billion.
years.
It's going to continue the trend of the only movies that can make past $2 billion are people who feature blue people. And that would be Avatar, Avatar 2, Titanic when Leo dies and he has a blue sheen, and now Bluey. You have to have a blue person. You have to.
That's the requirement. Smurfs, get on it. Get back to the theaters.
Smurfs tried and failed. Too many blue people.
The right balance. And Bluey only has 2. There's Bluey and her dad. So
that's it.
All right.
I can't wait. I'm seated.
Can't wait. And we have to talk about the last bit here, some trailers, because we didn't see any trailers for these movies because we watched the movies at home. Spoiler alert. But the new trailers, we got a new trailer for Die My Love, Lynn Ramsey's upcoming film. Lynn Ramsey previously directed. We need to talk about Kevin. You Were Never Really Here, starring Joaquin Phoenix, a movie I really, really enjoyed because I was kind of like dragged to see it with a friend. Maybe that was that Movie Pass era? Or
I think it might have been Movie Pass era because I definitely saw it. I saw it and I was deeply disturbed, but I was also just on a high of cinema. I like walked out and I was like, damn, that's a movie.
Yeah.
And the second trailer, the first trailer, Die My Love, yes. I think it looks great. I think it's hot people fighting each other. Like, it seems like it's just Robert Pattinson and Jennifer Lawrence fighting a lot, physically and mentally. Respectfully, sign me up.
What if Robert Pattinson's doing the voice for Mickey 17?
Even better. I want him to do the voice from The Boy and the Heron.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, all right, let's do it. Or just someone on the internet start cutting that in, you know?
Somebody do that, yeah. We just gave you a free idea. Okay, the second trailer we need to talk about is it's a movie that's going to break this podcast.
Number one enemy of the podcast.
Emerald Fennell. She strikes again. She's here with Wuthering Heights. Oh, Evan, I watched this and I just felt a little part of myself leave my body in a bad way, you know?
I had the same experience, but I also could see the part of myself leaving my body in a good way while I was descending. Listen, you remix a Charlie remix a Charlie XCX song and put it to some wild visuals. Jacob Elordi, black suit, blue room, the way the light feels like, I think it was probably shot on film because there's some weird texture to the lighting and the colors. I was just like, oh no, she's cooking and I'm gonna eat it and I'm not gonna like the taste, but I'm gonna enjoy the experience, or vice versa. Who knows what the metaphor is, but I was like, I can't believe that she got me.
She's got us all is the problem. Like, and unfortunately, I'm seated, but I don't want to be. I don't want to be.
Yeah, me neither.
And I felt that way. Actually, no. Saltburn, when I saw the trailer for Saltburn, I was like, okay, sign me up. I am pumped. Love these actors. Love the setting. Yeah. I love a movie set at like a weird old estate. That's just never going to go wrong for me.
Yeah.
But this one, I feel like we're getting dangerously close to like yassified classics featuring Charlie XCX. And I don't think it's going to work for like the part of my brain that reads. But
I mean, when it comes out, we're gonna have to pair it. We're gonna have to pair it with Marie Antoinette again.
No, Pride and Prejudice.
Pride and Prejudice and zombies. Not just Pride and Prejudice, right?
Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Yeah, because it just feels like that Charlie. It just feels like it looks like it's that like modern swing on a classic. But like it's gonna be played in a really odd way, and I don't know. Maybe I'll reread Wuthering Heights over the holidays just to prep for this. But
I can guarantee you, I'm gonna call another shot right now. Anybody that likes this new adaptation will be somebody who's never read the book. I'm gonna call that right now. Oh, sure.
Yeah.
It's gonna be for an illiterate audience, and people are gonna love it. Like, it's gonna be for people who don't read.
Oh boy. I think you're right.
Yeah. You're right. Like, that sounds mean, but I think it's correct.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll keep the audience posted with, I believe that was just a teaser. I'm sure we will get a full trailer around the holidays, and we're going to have to do like an emergency podcast. We're going to have to drop an emergency clip, just Wuthering Heights trailer, where we watch it together side by side. Break it down. God. Break down the Wuthering Heights trailer.
For some inside baseball podcast heads, if anyone gets this joke, we'll do an emergency podcast from the San Francisco airport at gate. I believe it's F8 or something. But anyways, well, speaking of adaptations, let's get into highest to lowest and high and low. We both saw highest to lowest at home on Apple TV, right? Sure, I believe. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're fortunate enough, right, for this movie to have been in theaters where we live in Los Angeles. It was hard to get out and see it. I almost saw it at the Vidiot's Micro Cinema. I've never been into the movie Micro Cinema at Vidiot's. Have you ever seen anything there? You should.
I have not seen anything projected there, but I have volunteered there, which is fun.
Okay, nice.
But yeah, it is indeed a Micro Cinema, a very small theater. Love it.
Well, the other question I wanted to ask, though, is what order did you watch these films in? High and low, highest to lowest?
Good question. So, I watched highest to lowest first.
Okay.
And I watched high and low a couple days after. I let it sit. I let it digest. Mm-hmm. Because we'll get into how they are based on the same story. So I was like, I don't think I could do a back-to-back, and they're both 2.5 hours.
Yeah, they're long.
At first I was going to do a true double feature, and I was going to just like lock in, but then I saw the run times and I was like, oh, I have to go to bed. I have work tomorrow.
Yeah. I did the exact opposite. I watched high and low first. I believe I did something very interesting with it, which I normally don't do. And I say this, and again, I do not recommend anyone watch movies like this at all. But I kind of split it up into multiple chapters throughout my day.
Boo. Drag him. No Please, one should watch a movie that way.
I'll be honest about it too, So I watched it, I think, in 3 sittings, but all in one day. And then took some time, and then Highest Lows came out, I believe, Thursday night, and I watched it Friday. So again, a few days in between there. So that's how I saw the movies. And I think that it's a good way to get into how we're going to talk about these two films, because they're so intertwined and they're very
Mm-hmm.
similar, but they're very different. We were kind of talking and like it didn't quite make sense to split up movie one and movie two. So what we're going to
Yeah.
do is talk about both films together at the same time, and
Mm-hmm.
kind of full spoilers to do that. So
Full
if you have seen
spoilers.
if you have seen one and haven't seen the other, and you don't want to be spoiled per se, like, go watch them,
Mm-hmm.
come back. I will say before we get into the talk, Gabby, would you recommend the order that you watch the films in to someone if they have not seen either of the films? Or what would you be your recommendation for how to watch both films?
Honestly, no, I would not. I think that if I could go back and do it, I would do it high and low first and then highest to lowest.
Wow.
I think I made a mistake. I goofed.
I think I made a mistake.
Really? Oh my
I
god.
literally was returning High and Low today to Videotheque, where I rented the film from, and the cashier asked me what I thought of the movie, and because she had never seen it before, and was like, "Oh, and Highest to Lowest just came out." I was like, "I think you should watch Highest to Lowest first if you haven't seen High and Low,
Really?
and then watch High
Mm.
and Low." And I think we're gonna get into some of those reasons now. So we're gonna
We
enter
sure are.
Spoilerville.
Spoilerville
Population.
Population U. All right. Let's get into some credits. Highest to Lowest, released in limited theatrical on August 15, 2025, and then on Apple TV Plus on September 5th. Directed by Spike Lee, written by Alan Fox, based off the book King's Ransom by Ed McBain, and Akira Kurosawa's High and Low, produced by Todd Black and Jason Michael Berman. Starring Denzel Washington, Jeffrey Wright, Ilfanesh Hadera, A$AP Rocky, and lots of others, including Dean Winters, the guy from the Allstate commercials, and 30 Rock. So if you can't get his cameos out of your head in those commercials / shows, you're going to have a really tough time sitting through this movie. I'm just going to get that out of the way because
Yeah.
I cannot stop seeing him as Dennis from 30 Rock. And that's just not a serious person, and he's supposed to be like an actual, like, a cop, a detective in this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want him on my case.
There's also cameos, right? Lots of cameos. I guess like notably Ice Spice as a credited role, as well as Princess Nokia, and Anthony Ramos, Rosie Perez. Lots of people. The guys shouting "Boston sucks," Nick Turturro. A list goes on.
Sure does.
And High and Low, the Akira Kurosawa film released March 1st, 1963, of course, directed by Akira Kurosawa, written by Hideo Oguni, Ryuzo Kikushima, Eijiro Hisaita, and Akira Kurosawa himself, produced by Ryuzo Kikushima and Tomoyuki Tanaka, based on the novel, again, King's Ransom by Evan Hunter. Or Ed McBain, aka Evan Hunter, or Evan Hunter, aka Ed McBain. There we go.
They are pen names.
Pen names, yeah. Starring the legendary Toshiro Mifune, Tatsuya Nakadai, Kyoko Kagawa, and Tatsuya Mihashi. So again, both these films based off the novel King's Ransom, which they make very clear, published in 1959. And both of the films are about a man of wealth having to make a very difficult decision. Do they pay a ransom, which will effectively bankrupt them, or to save the son of their driver? And then the ensuing mystery that follows. Both films are kind of broken into two distinct halves. How the man in power comes to the decision to pay this ransom, and then how the mystery of the kidnapper is solved or resolved. Highest to Lowest follows a very similar roadmap to High and Low, but it diverges in a big way in the second half. For better or worse, we can discuss, but I guess let's just start with some general feelings on Highest to Lowest, Spike Lee's new film.
I certainly have thoughts.
Yeah.
There are thoughts that I have. I think that this is a really interesting direction for Spike Lee to go in. This is very different from a lot of his other films, not just because of it being an adaptation. He's done adaptations before. See the disastrous Old Boy. But he's never quite shown New York in this way. And as noted, I am from New York and Evan is not, but close.
I grew up into going to New York all the time, okay?
Yeah. That's what they all say when they're from Jersey. But this is a really different part like of New York and modern New York that he hasn't really shown on film before.
Hmm.
So I did find that part of it captivating, and I mean, yes, they're all drone shots in the beginning, in the opening, but the opening really, it had me missing home.
Mm.
Even though the opening is these like breathtaking drone shots over the city and over Brooklyn,
Hmm.
and set to "Oh What a Beautiful Morning" from Oklahoma, which I thought was the first of many very interesting musical decisions made in
Yeah.
this movie. But I really do. I was interested by the way that Spike went about portraying this different, more modern, upper class version of New York.
Hmm.
And it felt very real in that way. It felt like what the day to day of a man like this would be. And this man named David King, we should say, both of these movies star or focus around a protagonist whose name is a play on King.
Mm.
See The King's Ransom. So yeah, David King, very interesting protagonist. I wasn't fully on board with this Denzel performance until it seemed like he was gonna go villainous. I
Sure.
wanted to.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
kind of wanted to see the like villainy heel turn,
Yeah.
and it makes it seem like it's gonna go in that direction for a little while, and then the air kind of comes out of the balloon for me, and I just have mixed feelings about it after that point. But
What part is that for you? The where you think he's gonna do a heel turn?
I mean, I found it very interesting when I thought that, again, I had not seen High and Low at all
Hmm.
before I saw
Yeah.
Highest to Lowest.
Yeah.
So I truly did not know what decision he was going to make. So the twist of both of these movies is both of these men of power, are get a call threatening them to pay a very large ransom to a kidnapper who claims to have kidnapped their son.
Hmm.
And it turns out not to be their son, but to be their driver's son.
Hmm.
And in both movies, the driver is somebody who works for the family, who is like kind of part of the family, familiar to the family. I think Highest to Lowest pulls this off a little bit better.
Well, there's the relationship changes that High Slows does is really interesting, but let's circle back to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that does work. The
Yeah.
idea that the kid who is kidnapped is not just his chauffeur son, but it's like a nephew to him. You know, it's his son's best friend.
It's his godson, actually.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's his godson. So, and it's his son's best friend. He has a very interesting conversation with his son about whether or not he's going to pay the ransom. And I would say that after that point is when the air comes out of the balloon for me. That I thought he was going to make a different choice.
Yeah.
I thought it would have, I thought that the more interesting adaptation choice here would have been to have Denzel not
Yeah.
pay the ransom.
Yeah.
Because yes, in the original in High and Low, Kingo does ultimately pay the ransom. He puts up a fuss about it, puts up a fight, initially doesn't want to do it, but ultimately does agree to do so. I thought that debate had more stakes in High and Low, and the debate in Highest to Lowest was only interesting to me when I thought he wasn't going to do it.
Yeah, so let's focus in on then that this is the first half of the movie. This is the debate of whether or not they should pay the ransom. That's why I was like reacted that way of like the order watching the movies, because if you've seen High and Low, you know he's going to pay the ransom. And
Right.
and the debate, like you said, is not, they don't do it very interestingly in Highest to Lowest, because it just, I don't know, there's something about how all this, right? This is why, if my recommendation is, if you're going to watch both films, watch Highest to Lowest first, if you're going to watch them in a short succession of time. Because High and Low, like the debate of this is the most incredible camera blocking you will see
Yes.
ever. It's this very tense dialogue scene that goes for really long takes. It's at both times very theatrical and very cinematic because of how the camera moves, how people are moving in this very open space in this very nice living room in High and Low, and how they're moving around the main character, Kingo Gondo, right? Yes,
Hmm.
Kingo Gondo, as they're moving around and how he's interacting and talking with them about this decision of whether or not to pay this ransom. In High and Low, it is, like you said, Gabby, it's just his driver, right? And the way that Kurosawa captures the way the detectives that are talking to him, his wife who's talking to his son, the driver, all these people who are talking to him, it almost feels like Kingo's having this dialogue with himself. He's like pulling these different facets of his mind, activating different people or mirrors to talk to, right? Like, how would this part of society react to this? How would my family react to this? And it's this thing that feels so internal, and it's so compelling, especially for a movie that's like that old, also shot in black and white.
Hmm.
You're just like, this feels so immediately like it's engaging, and it's so incredible. I was so blown away by this film. I was like, every film director should try to do something like this, because it's like, this really will test you as a director, your actors, your whole team, because it is so unbelievably captivating. um it's incredible. So having
I,
that scene in the back of my
yeah.
mind, and then seeing how they did it in highest to lowest, I was like, oh man, you're right. The parts that are super interesting is when he's talking to Jeffrey Wright, who's
Yeah.
incredible in this movie. I think he's awesome. And
I
you
think
think
he
he
outdoes Denzel.
I think so.
I like his performance more than Denzel's, and I know that that's blasphemous. Denzel Washington, quite literally, is one of the last great movie stars.
Hmm.
He was able to open 3 Equalizer movies to huge box
Yeah.
office success very recently. Um, but I think Jeffrey Wright is kind of blowing him off the screen in every scene that they have together.
And it's a great elevation of this character, where the driver in High and Low is kind of like this very like meekish character for the first half, who like is just seems like very like cowardly, kind of like he seems helpless, like a peon, whereas like Jeffrey Wright is like has a mysterious past that the movie does not elaborate on, that he
Oh
like
no.
at some point went to jail. And also just like has his own thing, he's very spiritual. He also feel like
He lost his
lost
wife.
his wife,
He only has his son left.
the way he has reverence for David King is displayed, not just like he's my boss, but the way it's done is
It's a
so.
brotherhood. It feels like they
Yes.
are brothers. Like
Yes.
they mentioned growing up together. They
Hmm.
mentioned coming from the same place. It's it's a deeper relationship, and I think that that does work in the movie's
Yeah.
favor. In terms of making us care more about the stakes of the decision, about the stakes of his relationship with Wright's character, with his son, who is very close to the kidnapped son.
Hmm.
But yeah, I just exactly what you're saying is like Kurosawa manages to make this movie so modern in the way that it is shot and the way that it is blocked, that it feels like a tense thriller type
Hmm.
of thing
And
that's happening.
you're in one room, basically.
Yes,
One or two.
you're in
You
one
barely,
room,
whereas like
but
in
you don't
highest.
feel it. You do not
Yes.
feel that way. But in the moments where you do, it's on purpose, because
Hmm.
they want you to feel like you are in Kingo's head and the walls are closing in around him.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, David King is just kind of in this luxurious, beautiful penthouse in Dumbo,
Hmm.
pacing around and talking to uh, portraits on his walls of like Stevie Wonder and Prince, and asking them what they would do. And I just didn't find that as compelling. I mean, I thought
Yeah.
that the conversation he has with Jeffrey Wright, about whether or not he's going to pay the ransom, again felt a little, once you that relationship change works for better and for worse, because once you understand how far back they go, you kind of think, oh, so David King would be a monster to not pay this ransom.
Mm-hmm.
This is a member of his family, for better or for worse, even if it is not his son. But that's what made it more interesting to me. I was like, oh, so he might, if he doesn't pay this ransom, he would truly alienate everyone in his family. His wife, his son, Jeff Wright's character, Jeffrey Wright's son, who may or may not survive in that case, and the public. You know,
Yeah.
he's a public figure, as is Kingo.
Well, but
he's arguably a more public figure. He's arguably under more scrutiny.
Well,
so I was waiting for that. I was waiting for him to, and there are a lot of allusions to cancel culture in Highest to Lowest, and I was waiting for that to be like the heel turn that this movie did. Was, oh, it's gonna go hard into, he makes this choice and he becomes like a public villain, and maybe that puts him and his company or the company that he's trying to buy back in a better or worse position.
Yeah, I think that is the thing that I wish the movie like actually did more with, is these like this idea of like the court of public appeal or right, or like is that the right phrase? Is that how you say the court of, there's
public
the court
opinion.
the court of public opinion, the social media aspect of it all, and that is like the right way to update this, but they just don't do enough with that, because the thing that's
they don't commit enough to Denzel being the bad guy. And I just think that if he had been the bad guy in this movie, rather than, you know, having this sort of fake out in the first half of the movie, it would have been just more compelling to me as a performance and also as an adaptation. Like, you're doing something different. And Spike Lee has been adamant that he wanted to do this not as a remake, but as a reinterpretation, as an update. He clearly has a lot of reverence for Kurosawa and High and Low. So yeah, my question then, I mean, Spike Lee did not write the script, but my question then is, why not throw more into the changes of the adaptation if you're doing a reinterpretation? But those are always questions. Those are always questions to ask about any adaptation, especially now as we're getting into this culture of multiple iterations, multiple remakes, multiple takes on the same story. You know, we talked earlier in the pod about Frankenstein. How many Frankenstein movies are there? But there's only going to be one Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. So what's his signature? Or, you know, Emerald Fennell's Wuthering Heights. There are so many adaptations of Wuthering Heights, but what's going to make her adaptation? And I feel like this could have been Spike Lee's High and Low if he had done a little bit further with those reimaginings.
Well, I mean, just to like jump back, like an important distinction between the two characters, right, is that like he decides to make David King not only a very public figure but a legendary music producer, whereas Kingo Gondo is the head of a factory for shoes. Like he is not like, he's not a household name, but David King is the best.
He's respected in the community, but he's definitely
he's not respected
known
worldwide. Yeah, you know, David King's got the best ears in the business. Kingo Gondo just cares about making great shoes, and no one else knows that he cares about making great shoes. In fact, the rest of the board want him to not make great shoes. You know, but you don't have Japanese citizens. What does he say? Like, my life is shoes, like, or something.
Yeah, iconic scene. He's like, no one understands how my work is my life, and I'm like, brother, your work is shoes. But shoes are important. I hate an uncomfortable pair of shoes.
And he wants to do things the right way, right? And he doesn't want to skimp on, because he knows what the integrity of having that craftsmanship is. And there's a little bit of that in David King, who, you know, he pushes back against AI. There's no heart in that. But like, I don't know, there's such a difference between making someone who when you have someone whose job is very unique and specific, but also not like and he uses it later to hide a smoke a thing that, you know, you see behind you, the pink smoke. He uses that skill. David King uses his skills of recognizing a voice, and I was like, I don't, but he's got the best ears in the business. Or can we do more with that? Can we?
Yeah.
And
I felt that too. I was like, there's a lot resting on this plot element that we don't really get to see in action enough. You know, like if he had been able to earlier in the movie, David King, like identify things, you know, just from a few beats or like a few bars of something and, you know, was correct all the time, I would be like, oh, okay, this guy has a killer sense of this. But I don't think we see it enough. We just hear people telling us that he's good at this, which is not compelling.
There's this scene of his wife saying, when we first started dating, you used to walk across the Brooklyn Bridge, listen to music, and be so fired up. Like, what if that was different? What if he walked around the bridge taking in the sounds of the city, blah, blah, blah. And then there's that, you know, there's a great moment in High and Low where someone recognizes, or multiple people recognize multiple different sounds that happen. You could have easily just have done that and still have it been interesting, you know? But, okay, so just to also go back to something else you said, the social media aspect of it, the court of public opinion, right? That is actually something that is important in High and Low, right? When the police reveal that he decides to sacrifice the money, not only is the public on the side of him and it helps of Gondo and it helps the case, but also it motivates the police officers to help as well. Like a lot of them are suddenly way more motivated to work for Gondo and make the case, like complete the case, as opposed to maybe what they would have been in the past. I think a lot of that has to do with like this kind of like post World War II industrialism. I believe that it was something like showing the kind of like haves and have-nots, like was a really important part of that movie, and the cops who kind of occupy like an interesting in-between space are kind of like, well, we should rally for this rich guy because he did something really noble, you know? Whereas what happens here, like you said, is like we don't do anything with that. We have these photoshopped images of Denzel Washington on a Black Panther costume, calling him, right, like of the Black Panther of the Boogie Down Bronx or something like that. I think I'm butchering it, but it was just like, okay,
it bothers
me. And what, you know,
and
like A$AP Rocky's wife in the movie recognizes you, and what? He's already famous. People already know who he is, you know, like. It was so interesting to talk about social media so much in the movie, but to not have anything meaningful happen out of it was just so mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that getting social media correct in a movie is really hard. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's easy. Most movies that incorporate social media, it feels incredibly forced. It feels like it's too much, you know, dating the piece, like putting a hard date on, like, even if you go back and look at like a movie from the early 2000s, you're like, oh, Facebook used to look like that.
Yeah, sure.
And now, like, you know, it dates it. But you know, this, I just felt like they clearly had a setup and there was no follow through.
Yeah,
they very clearly set it up for this opportunity in the story. And then they just kind of waste it on A$AP Rocky's wife recognizing him, but she would have recognized him anyway.
Because he's a fan.
Right. He's obsessed with him. Oh my gosh.
All right. Okay. So let's
this is where it gets really different. From the adaptations deviate, I would say, after the first hour of both of these films. So, and I want to say the key distinction is that in High and Low, after both of these movies have elaborate scenes on trains, which I recommend watching. They're both of them great. That was the most activated that I was during Highest to Lowest, was that train sequence. And after the train sequence, after the kidnapped son is returned to the chauffeur, in High and Low, it turns into a tense, nearly perfectly executed police procedural. It shifts focus from Kingo, from his family, from the chauffeur even, to finding this kidnapper and his motive. Why? And it focuses a lot on the police work. In Highest to Lowest, after the recovery of the kidnapped son, we kind of see the police take a back seat. The police don't they don't follow, or they don't believe that who David King has identified as a suspect through his ears, essentially, is a real lead, and they won't follow through on it. So he and Jeffrey Wright's character take matters into their own hands to try and bring the kidnapper to justice, or, you know, find evidence that this is indeed the kidnapper. And on paper, that sounds really interesting. Who doesn't want to see Denzel Washington go equalizer mode in a Spike Lee movie? But I thought it was a really hard turn tonally for the movie, and didn't always feel steady.
Yeah, there's some really good scenes in it. It just feels like it all happens really quick. And again, this is like another part where it's like the police procedural stuff is so good. You are kind of like, man, I kind of miss Kingo Gondo. He's not really in this thing anymore.
Yeah.
And then when he does show up, you're like, oh, he's back. And then they're like, nope, it was just the cops telling him that they maybe got some of his money back. And so, and when Gondo is out of the movie, you're so wrapped up in like, well, what is the story? What's happening? Like, who did this? I do need to know. Whereas in Highest to Lowest, I think some of this is maybe a commentary on like the police kind of just like messing things up, right? Like they don't really care about the case anymore, and they also like are really rude to Jeffrey Wright and his son specifically, and it's like very frustrating. And you're like, oh man, like, all right, so interesting, you know, good commentary on
we are commenting a little bit, yes, on the status of these David King versus Jeffrey Wright's character in that way, where when the police think that it is David King's son that's been kidnapped, they're all camped out in that penthouse. They're tapping phone lines. Like, they are locked in.
Yeah.
And then as soon as the other son is recovered, or it's discovered that it's not Denzel's son, they're just treating Jeffrey Wright like any other guy, and kind of worse than any other guy, because they know he has a history.
Yeah.
Like, I think we're supposed to read into it that they just see him as a criminal. And, you know, oh, your son's is missing. Well, maybe you did so. Like, there's even an implication of like, well, maybe it's your fault actually. But I think that commentary is there for an astute reader of the film, but again, not enough is really done with it. And it could be something that makes a lot of sense as to why they take the case into their own hands. Like, oh, the police are not up to par, or, you know, even having David King say something like, you know, you live in my world, but these worlds are still different. Or, you know, so just anything to give us like, oh, that moment. I'm not asking for the world, you know?
Yeah, so it just really just the way that him and Jeffrey Wright decided to just like go about hunting down the kidnapper, it just kind of happens immediately within hours.
It's really rushed, and it stands in stark contrast to that like drawn out, really meticulous procedural element of High and Low.
And both High and Low and Highest to Lowest offer like, they kind of have ticking like they have ticking clocks.
Ticking clock.
As far as like the money used in the ransom needs to be returned. And in High and Low, it feels more accurate because you're like, this is an older movie. They don't really have credit, so to speak, or like, you know, whereas like Highest to Lowest, you're like, he has this very successful record label. He probably is gonna be fine. And he also has a crazy expensive apartment that like he probably could sell some of his paintings to like, you know, recoup some of the money to like at least stave off the deal that Wendell Pierce is like, hey man, you like committed fraud or whatever.
Honestly, that's another part that just completely took the stakes out of the movie for me, where I was like, the ransom that they're asking for in Highest to Lowest is $17.5 million. And I mean, we're supposed to believe that the Kings, based on one like very heavily expository scene with his wife, are maybe, you know, not financially strapped, but just that they might not be making as much as they used to. or something like that.
Yeah.
And he wants to make this big acquisition, this big purchase that might drain him. But yeah, I was looking at those paintings and looking at his penthouse, and I'm like, 17.5 million, that's not much to you. I'm like, that sounds like a lot to any normal person.
Yeah.
But I was like, respectfully, if you didn't pay 17.5 million for this kid to be safe, yeah, that would make you even worse. Like,
yeah, you have all this money.
You have so much money.
Yeah, I just think the whole money thing is like, it's just very goofy, and it just feels really different. We can talk about how it resolves in a little bit, but I guess just to keep moving through both movies here. Yeah, so I guess, right, this biggest thing, the biggest difference is that kind of King and I want to get the character name, King and Mr. Christopher, Paul Christopher, King and Paul, they decide to take matters into their own hands, whereas it's the police investigating the kidnapping. How did you feel about, you saw Highest to Lowest first, how did you feel about this, how the second half of this movie played out, with the introduction of A$AP Rocky's character, young felon who is revealed to be the kidnapper?
I really liked A$AP Rocky in this movie.
Yeah, he's good.
I thought he was really good. I thought that the motive made a lot more sense to me. And even though it's a little like, shoehorned, hits the nail on the hammer a lot. It's the nail with a hammer a lot. But I liked it on its face. Like, I was like, okay, I didn't like the first half as much. And then after the train sequence, I was like, okay, we're moving, we're doing something, we're becoming more active. And, even though it felt rushed, I was on board.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted more of the Rocky character. Like, I was like, okay, so this is getting us closer to this inevitable face-off. And I do think that scene between King and Rocky's character, young felon, is the movie at its best.
Yeah.
I think that Rocky holds his own in scenes with Denzel Washington in one of his, if not his first movie role, one of his first movie roles.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really, really good performance. And I felt that it was successful for the most part, or at least in parts, again, until I saw High and Low.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I think that's why I had such trouble getting into this movie, is that after the first half kind of is just fumbles the bag a little bit, then I was just like, well, I know is it going to be this big mastermind thing? And I was like, well, in some ways it's much simpler to see how it plays out in Highest to Lowest. And I agree that I really like that scene. I like the tete-on-tete kind of thing back and forth they're doing, the way they slip into it being a rap battle and then not, and then they joke about it being a rap battle is very it's fun to be self-aware that that's what they're doing, but that's how they can converse with each other in a way that they are putting their cards out on the table. I really, really liked just the energy of that scene. Denzel's both actually giving him music tips, but also trying to figure out where his money is so funny. And to something that we haven't talked too much about, but Denzel's performance overall, I think I liked him a little bit more than you seem to, Gabby, just based on some of the comments. He's doing a lot throughout this movie, and so I think your mileage on that is going to vary. I think this scene where he's doing a lot is probably the best that
this is where it works.
Yeah,
this is where it works for me.
Yeah,
and in the final scene, that does mirror it's the second to last scene in Highest to Lowest versus the last scene of High and Low, where King or Kingo is face to face with the kidnapper. I think that scene also worked. Denzel also worked for me in that scene. I liked the incorporation of the actual music into that scene. A$AP Rocky getting like a small music video directed by Spike Lee in the middle of this is pretty great. I had a good time with that. It took me out of it, but I was like, okay.
I just don't understand why Denzel went.
Yeah, no, I don't get that either, but Good for him.
I just didn't get the part, like, why would the character do, I didn't understand. I didn't understand at all.
Well, it doesn't make sense character-wise because we're supposed to believe that he doesn't like this kind of music, or that this is the kind of music he's trying to kind of caution his company against, or like
so, yeah.
like it doesn't make sense character-wise for him to be like really vibing to this music, and then be like, actually no, like I'm gonna start my own label and do like classical ballads and jazz.
Anyways, well, just talking about young felon versus the actual kidnapper and their motivations, right? Like,
right.
The young felon reveals himself to be an aspiring rapper, aspiring musician.
Mm-hmm.
He was in jail for a while. He got out and he wanted to get an audience with David King, couldn't get it, and then he was just getting fed up with his status in the world and decided to be like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get him to pay attention to me by kidnapping his son. Doesn't quite
super work. Logical, normal train of thought.
But yeah, I mean, you kind of feel for him when he's like, "You're listening to me now, right? You're listening to me now," and you're like, "Okay, yeah,
I did.
Yeah."
I saw his point.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was interesting, and I think I liked it. But what I liked even more was that in High and Low, the kidnapper is crazy.
Yes.
Like, he literally just does it because it is, again, back to the theme I said of the haves and have-nots. It's him looking up at this shining house at the hill, King Ugando's shining house on the hill. He's sweating in the summer. He's freezing in the winter. He's just an intern, and he decides, I'm just mad. I'm upset. And I'm going to do I'm just going to hurt this person. And it's pure madness. It's pure, like, psychopath energy. And it's like, it was not a vendetta against him, right?
No, and I loved it. I loved
it's
that.
Awesome. It's so good.
But it made me look back on Highest to Lowest and think, oh, I can kind of feel them trying to connect the dots too much now. Like, it made me go back and think, oh, actually, I think it makes sense for the movie that Highest to Lowest ultimately is and wants to be, but it made me realize, oh, maybe that ending didn't work as well as I thought it did, because, again, maybe this is me admitting Evan is correct. You should watch High and Low first. Or second.
No,
sorry.
Second. Watch this. If you want to enjoy Highest to Lowest in fullest capacity, watch it without knowing what the source material is. Don't read the book. I don't know what the book is. Don't read the book. Just don't do that. Just watch this movie.
King's Ransom. We said it like 4 times.
Oh no, I haven't read the book. I don't know like what happens in the book because it's different,
Right.
But don't read King's Ransom.
But yeah, see, this is convincing me that you are correct. You should just watch Highest to Lowest, independent of High and Low, because as soon as I saw the High and Low ending and the wave at that, I mean, I had seen clips of it before, like that very like iconic sitting across from the kidnapper, Kingo, looking into his eyes and talking to him, and just him saying, I just looked up at your house, and I was, giving that explanation feels so visceral in that moment. It almost feels random. Like, it almost feels like I just picked you because you're, not because of who you are, but because of what you have and what I don't have. And I loved it. And I loved every second.
The whole time that's happening, you kind of think back to the beginning where you initially assume King Uganda, we didn't say this. He's trying to do a hostile takeover, investor takeover of the shoe company. He wants to push out the rest of the board, buy the company, and that's why this money is such a big this puts him at stakes, because he's leveraging all the money he has in the world to buy the whole company, to re-outfit the board, right? And so you think that it's someone trying to sabotage him in doing that, and the whole time you're like, how does this connect to the shoes and blah blah blah. And as the movie continues, you're like, it might not, and then you realize it was truly an act of pure madness that drove this person to do this, and it has kind of ruined Gondo's life in the sense that we see that they don't get the money back in time. He loses
No, he has
his
to take
house.
a different job.
But in his other job, he's like, I still made it out okay.
I'm good. I'm all right. Like, I'm always going to land on my feet kind of deal.
Yeah. And so, yeah, we get this, scene where the police feel very, like, a lot of remorse that they weren't able to complete their job. And I think that was a really, really great thing to show that even when you do solve the case, you don't really win, right? Which brings us in high and low to this interrogation scene. I believe Matt Reeves also said this was inspiration for the Batman.
Incredible interrogation scene.
Yeah, between Robert Pattinson and Paul Dano. You already described the scene. It's great. Of him confronting the kidnapper of Kingo. The kidnapper requests to see Kingo Gondo. That's his last thing before he gets effectively the electric chair, right? He gets
basically
the death sentence, and he explains his whole rationale, and you're kind of like, this was the reason. And then he's like, I just didn't want you to think. Kingo asks him, like, why did you want to see me before you die? He's like, I just didn't want you to think I was gonna die scared. And then he starts shaking.
Yeah, it's real psycho mode stuff.
And he's like, oh, this just happens when I get excited or something, right? What's his excuse? I forget. Something like that,
Something
right?
like that, yeah.
And then he just starts screaming.
Which makes it creepier, which makes it so much creepier. And yeah, it's an iconic scene that once you see it, it is one of those things where you mentioned this several times on the pod that you see the source material for something for the first time. And I had that experience, like watching High and Low for the first time and seeing that scene in the context of the movie. And then going back in my head and like replaying all of these interrogation scenes or confrontation scenes mostly in police stations that I'm like, oh my God, this is so great. And I'm like, oh, they're pulling straight from the Akira Kurosawa High and Low playbook. So it was fun to have that moment. We don't really get that in Highest to Lowest. I think that scene is okay. I think that scene is good. I don't think it's as great as that kind of rap battle confrontation scene.
No, yeah.
It doesn't have the same weight.
And then the music video takes you kind of, because it goes
you out.
It goes from like, I believe it goes from them reuniting at the hospital, right? And then Jeffrey Wright is like, if it's okay by you, King, I'm gonna find a new line of work.
Yeah. and then we never see him again. Okay. And I wanted a better final scene for that character.
I know. But it goes from that, and then it goes into the music video, the pseudo.
Well, we get the courthouse. We get to the courthouse, and we see A$AP Rocky. Going into the courthouse. We see.
Also, wait.
We get a scene with the cops.
Hold on. In the courthouse, though, as they're pulling him up the steps, and people are like, "Free young felon, free young felon." Why, if the movie has made such a big deal about the public being on King's side? Why is young felon now? Why are people championing him? He still did a bad. It's not like David King is a Jeff Bezos billionaire. We know he only has $17.5 million.
Evan, I don't know, and I don't think the movie knows either.
I was so frustrated. I was like, what is going on? Why do people like young felon?
I think that the answer the movie wants us to take is that now people have like gotten into young felon's music because of this, so now he has a following and he has fans and people have sympathized with his side of it. But again, that's not really explained. It's just like free young felon and him being like, I'm innocent, and then
clearly are not innocent.
You're not innocent. And then we don't see any of the court proceedings, but we do see Denzel and the cops, and Denzel asks like, oh, how much is he gonna get? Like, how long is he gonna be there? And they say 25 years, and he's like, not enough. And I gotta say, I agree. But also, they mentioned that young felon like took a plea deal or something, I think.
Sure.
And I'm like, you were just saying you were innocent, bud. What are you talking about? But yeah, he also similarly, his kind of like last wish or part of the contingency of him taking the plea deal was that he gets to talk to King again. And he asks him to sign him to the stacking hits. And I'm like, what? Like, I'm like, we just went through this whole thing and you still are like, yeah, you should. This is in both of our best interests.
I mean, he has a point in the sense of like, if David King can sign the man who he paid a ransom to, who did a heinous thing, there's some type of like attention social media story there. Does it make any sense?
And Young Felon is blowing up.
Yeah.
Young Felon's blowing up. He's like, he makes the point like, this could make both of us a lot of money. And, you know, Denzel, he turns it down.
But Denzel got all the money back, and there was no consequence to him losing the money now.
Nope.
We don't go back to Wendell Pierce being like, you didn't make the deadline, man. Everything works out for David King. And in fact, he gets to start his own record label now.
Yep, it's better than ever because he's starting like a family label with his wife and his son.
Yeah.
And by, you know, I called this, this confrontation scene the second to last scene in Highest to Lowest, because it is. Because unlike in High and Low, that goes out on this insane confrontation, psycho energy, Kingo being like really taken aback by how he was targeted. We don't get that. Highest to Lowest will not let us rest, so we have to go back to the penthouse, and we have to hear
Sula?
I guess an audition.
Yeah,
an audition by Sula, who is an up-and-coming artist that David King's son had been earlier in the film telling him to check out.
Yeah.
And we have to sit and listen to the entire song. And no shots to that performer. No shots. Like, seems very talented. Why is this important? Other than putting a real, like, neat button on this story. And like showing how King came out fine, came out okay, but we got that from the confrontation. So I don't understand really the point of this scene.
There isn't even like a montage of like showing now all the rest of the people we saw and what their lives are like past this event. Like, it's just shots of like circling around her, I think, showing the family, showing King, kind of like nodding along.
How beautiful their living room is, and all their artwork.
It's so, because when earlier in the movie, when King is entering his office, a young performer stops him in the hall, in the lobby, and he's like, "Oh, it's you again." And she's like, "You know what? I got 5 minutes. Play me a song." And she's literally playing him a song where she calls him like a god, or like she calls him a literal king of like of hits. And it was like, this is insane. And I don't know what the lyrics are to this last song, but I gotta believe it's something similar.
Yeah, I didn't see the point of the scene other than plugging this artist, frankly. That's my really cynical read on it. But yeah, I thought that we could have gotten to, okay, David King is actually going to come out of this better than he went into it, similar to, like, you know, Kingo ends up okay.
Yeah, he makes less money, but he has more freedom, right? Which is kind of like what he was like, I just want to make shoes my way. Fine. You know?
Yeah. And I mean, I guess you could say that Denzel is maybe gonna make less money now, but have more freedom as he starts his own label, or his own company, production company, whatever it is. But good Lord, I just really didn't get this scene. And I felt the extra length tacked on to the final like 5 minutes of the movie, and I was like, this is so easily lifted and able to be cut. And then I would never have been able to hear Denzel say, "Are you ready for the memes?"
Yes, that was my Letterboxd review. He's like,
"Are you ready for the memes?
Yeah, can you handle the memes?" Yeah, the way the inflection on memes is so funny. Can you handle the memes? It's so good. Oh God.
Honestly, no. You know what? The Rock is out. Denzel for Best Actor. And that's his only clip. Are you ready for the memes? Can you handle the memes?
No, his clip is when he goes, pew, 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 and he goes, "Aw, shucks," or whatever. Or him doing the "What would you do, Stevie? What would you do, Prince?" Like,
actually, I thought that the funniest actual line of dialogue in this movie was when he's talking to the police in the beginning when they're trying to track A$AP Rocky's phone, and they're like, oh, we can't track it, it's a burner. And he's like, what do you mean you can't track it? It's 2025. Don't you watch SUV? Which struck me as just like something that he clearly meant to say SVU, but they kept it in. And I was like, that's funny. I like it.
That's funny. Yeah, that's good. I don't think I even picked up that he said SUV. That's
he did.
Really funny.
I'm 99% sure he says SUV. Okay, and I'm like,
that's
damn.
So good. Yeah, this all right. So kind of like in review then some like miscellaneous like tidbits that we didn't get to hit. The one thing that Spike Lee does to kind of like reinvent that interrogation scene is he does it in a split screen kind of like dolly type thing, which is like visually very cool, but when you're actually realizing what they're talking about, it makes no sense, and you're like, oh, I don't care about this anymore.
It's a Spike Lee flourish though. He does do the dolly shots frequently.
And I like this kind of like showing both of them in split screen this way I thought was very cool. Big thing that has been talked about this movie online that we didn't talk about is the music. The constant like I have not there was a movie last year that I was like, this movie was overscored. This movie is quite overscored. And it's not that I don't like I personally actually liked the music as music. I was so confused.
I don't like the music. I just felt like, especially in the first hour, I was like, this is giving melodrama.
Yeah.
The music is not giving, prestige drama, reimagining of a classic film. It's giving melodrama.
Yeah.
And I wasn't in. I was not in on it. I just felt like it did not match the tone of the film at all. And it got a little bit better for me in the second half because I feel like it drops off. But that first half, every scene is like, the score is blaring and it's distracting. It was distracting me from the dialogue.
And like in high and low, there really isn't a lot of score.
There's no like score.
Stings, but like nothing.
There's like nothing.
Yeah, so it was a pretty wild choice to do that.
It's pretty jarring.
Yeah.
I'm interested to know about the process behind that and why they made that choice. And to make it so different even from the music that is incorporated into the actual story of the film, like the A$AP Rocky song, the songs.
True.
Yeah, it's very different. It's not even melodically similar.
Some of it's kind of like an Irish jig at a point. I was like rewatching part of it. I was like, okay.
All right.
But there were moments that I did like. I just didn't like the execution of it. Oh, I forgot. The song that she sings at the end is called Highest to Lowest. That's why it's in there.
It is. You're so right. I remember that now. Is that the point of the scene, to have us all do the Leo meme and be like, oh.
Yeah, I think so.
That's it.
Other things about highest to lowest. Again, really like Jeffrey Wright in this. Love the Rick Fox cameo was really funny to me as someone who mostly only knows Rick Fox from College Humor sketches from back in the day and not his career as a basketball player.
I didn't recognize him like at all. I was like, he looks familiar, but no, I did not recognize him. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Is there anything on highest to lowest that we didn't quite? I mean, the action scenes were all really like action, quote unquote, scenes were all like fun, like subway stuff.
The train sequence is really good.
Yeah. Young felon telling Denzel to drop him off the train is pretty fun, I guess. He's like, I don't want to be here, man. I want to die.
But also doesn't make sense.
It makes no sense.
No narrative sense.
Because all he wants to do is be famous.
Yeah,
he just wants to be successful.
I'm like, I know you don't want to die, bro.
Yeah, you have a kid, and also he names.
He named his son after David King.
That was the other thing, right? Is that like young felon is obsessive, but he's not that obsessive that he can't like he's because that level of obsession of naming his son David King, I'm almost like maybe he should be more delusional. But when he sees,
lean into it.
When he sees King in the thing, he doesn't have a reaction, even though this is supposed to be like his god,
idol.
you know. And so that was weird. And again, another difference of like that versus like the kidnapper in High and Low, who is just doing this because he's mad, you know, at the world. Just the tweaks and the reimagination. I don't know. It's really tough to have seen. I wish I had seen Highest to Lows first. So I think a lot of people are responding really well to this movie, and it is kind of a bummer to like. I think we're having this conversation now, and I'm just like, man, I feel worse about the movie now because I'm just like, I don't know, you know, like. But it's tough because High and Low, I think, is kind of a masterpiece. It's probably like top.
It is.
Maybe top 100 films all time, if not top 50.
Yes.
Like it's
100%.
really, really good. It's really engaging, really intriguing. And
what it does has an actual impact on the future of filmmaking.
Yeah, that's true.
Everything that it's doing is in conversation with a lot of modern films and modern filmmakers that have been influenced by Kurosawa. It's what we're interested about on this podcast.
Yeah.
Quite literally. So I agree with you. I mean, totally recency bias on my part because I just saw High and Low for the first time for this pod. But I agree. I saw this and I was like, I'm watching a masterpiece.
Yeah, it's hard not to feel that way. I mean, I did the same thing. I think the best thing about covering this film is that we did watch High and Low, because like I think this is a movie that, you know, Kurosawa has many films. People obviously attribute a lot of samurai films to him too, right? And this is a more, you know, modernized drama piece, but it's well worth the watch. I was so blown away watching it, even though I watched it in a terrible way. You know, I own up to that, but it just was so great. It's so cool. We didn't even the action scenes in High and Low. There's this scene where they're moving around a nightclub. You have no idea what's happening,
God.
and it's so cool. And it's so cool.
All the
cops, all the cops in like different outfits, pretending to be people dancing, and they're trying to find the guy who kidnapped.
Crazy.
Oh my god,
that was crazy. The whole drug subplot, crazy. Love it though.
And like them arriving at the house, I was scared. I was scared when they arrived at the house of the helpers. I was like, oh my god, someone, they might get ambushed. Like they're going out with no backup. The kid's there, you know, like. God, man.
Oh, that's another thing I wanted to say that I think is more effective about High and Low is just the age of the kids.
Yeah.
I think that the age of the kids being younger in High and Low makes it a lot scarier. Not to say that any kidnapping is not scary. It's horrifying. It's a crime. It is an atrocity. Don't kidnap. But you know, that scene that we get of Jeffrey Wright's son, who is actually played by his real son. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
It's scary. He's being like bound and tied up in a bathtub someplace, and he doesn't know where he is.
Yeah.
But it's scary. But I think that for some reason with smaller children, the stakes are higher. They just are. You know, it's just because kids are so much more impressionable and innocent, and you know, at the age that Kingo's son is at that in High and Low.
I mean, and there's also this whole plot of like the driver suddenly becoming like not like a bad dad, but he feels indebted to Gondo to get the money back, that he's kind of like berating his son. He's like, you have to remember better. You have to remember where they took you because we need to get the money back.
That scene is so intense when he's like, do it better. Yeah. Remember.
And the cops are like, calm down. Whereas
even the cops are like, actually, this kid has been scarred like a lot. Maybe lay off.
Which is the opposite.
When he remembers.
It's the opposite in this movie where they like fucking want to drill this kid, and you're like, we haven't had any screen time with this kid. Like, what is going on? You know,
0 screen time.
It's so odd.
Didn't even realize there was a second kid at first.
Yeah,
I'm being totally honest.
Because he makes such a small impression when they introduce him. Like. Which I guess is part of what happens in the in High
Yeah,
and
no,
Low.
that's what
But
happens. In High and
still,
Low, you see like a brief shot of them playing like sheriffs, like a cowboy and outlaw
mhm.
kind of thing, which is cute.
But also, okay, another plot hole is like, why was King's son gone for so long? He didn't get kidnapped too, right?
I don't
They
know.
they were
We
supposed to
never
meet
find
up at a
out.
bodega and they didn't. And then what? He just wandered the streets because he got scared. I don't understand. I don't
I don't know where he
Yeah.
was.
Anyways, watch High and Low. I
Definitely watch High and Low. Even if you choose not to watch Highest to Lowest, watch High and Low.
Yeah, and when we were thinking of alternate pairings, I had so many other pairings for high and low and not highest to lows because I saw that first, right? I was thinking films kind of like The Conversation, French
Mm.
Connection, just kind of like these like mystery, like but drama, like these like plot things. Also, a deep cut that I texted Gabby immediately. This movie Locke, starring Tom Hardy, which takes place with Tom Hardy in a car the whole movie. He's driving and he has to make a decision whether he also works a very specific job. He is a cement. He's the like
Oh.
cement pourer. He
Mm.
is the one who pours. He's supposed to watch over or supervise the biggest cement pour in the history of London ever to build a huge building. It's so specific. It's so weird, and he has to
Okay.
make the decision whether or not to do that or go to the birth of a child. It's his child, but I believe it's not with his wife. It's very odd,
Ooh.
but the
Okay.
whole movie is very odd. But why I made that link is because it is about a man placed in a very interesting position, and he's trying to he's examining his own moral code, which is a very important part of both movies, but more so in High and Low. And also talking to people on the phone, talking to himself, talking to what I imagine is he's like, Dad, if you're watching me, like he's doing this
Mm.
very similar thing of like reaching out to these people and these aspects in his life and kind of like calling upon them to reflect upon himself. That I was like, oh, there's something interesting here in looking like that. That being said, once I saw Highest to Lowest, I was like, okay, this is a little bit more about kind of like a great man, so to speak, but also, I
Mm.
don't know. The movie that jumps out to me the most is Parasite with this.
Yeah.
A little bit more towards high and low, but still would work with Highest to Lowest, I think, as well. This kind of obsession with wealth or
That
status,
would have
you
been
know?
that would have been a wild pairing for us.
Yeah. And also Black Swan or like Perfect Blue. Again, Perfect Blue specifically about a fan trying to become or being obsessed with a cultural and musician or like an artist.
Mhm.
There's some of that in there too. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think,
I
Gabby?
Yeah, I stayed on the Spike Lee vein and
Mm-hmm.
I thought about Denzel and their collaborations together.
Mm-hmm.
They are frequent collaborators. In fact, we mentioned earlier that Denzel brought this script to Spike Lee to direct.
Mm-hmm.
That's how much they're in touch and always thinking about collaborating. I thought of Mo Better Blues, which
Mm.
stars Denzel in the musician role rather than in this high executive role. Just a very dedicated blues musician, which I think is interesting when you think about, again, the music that he's interested in this movie. And also Inside Man, another Spike Lee,
Okay.
more commercial Spike Lee Denzel collab about a bank robbery gone awry that I absolutely love. If you haven't seen Inside Man, go watch Inside Man.
I haven't. I need to check it out. Yeah.
Evan, you haven't lived.
um yeah, well, I'm excited to check that out. I've always wanted to see Mo and Better Blues as well, so it's this great excuse to go watch some
Yeah,
great Denzel performances.
of
um
course. He gives so many great
that's true.
performances that it's hard. You could spend a whole podcast dissecting Denzel performances at this stage of his career. I'm serious.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely for you, Evan, you got to get Inside Man on off the watch list.
Sounds good. Well, I think that's gonna be it for us today. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. If you're listening to us on audio, leave a review or comment. Don't forget to check out the video versions of these on YouTube at Back to the Future Pod. You can see me do my best impression of Denzel listening to Young Felon's music.
And you don't want to miss
and
that.
You don't want to miss that. You can follow the podcast on Letterboxd at Back to the Pod and on Instagram at Back to the Feature Pod. We next week on the podcast, we're gonna do another rewind episode. We're not covering Conjuring Last Rites or whatever it's called. We're too scared and we don't know the franchise. But we're gonna cover a movie that Gabby and I have talked a lot about this year, which is The Phoenician Scheme. And we're gonna pair it with a new favorite of mine, which is I honestly part of the genesis of this podcast was a double feature with Paper Moon. Great film by Peter Bogdanovich. So if you want the full experience, go watch Phoenician Scheme and Paper Moon, and come back next week to listen to us discuss both of those films.
Yes, I'm so excited to do an episode that I am calling personally Cinematic Girl Dads.
Cinematic Girl Dads. Oh, can't wait. Well, thank you everybody, and
thank you so much.
We'll catch you next time. See ya.
Bye.